Good morning, Neo-Swedenborgians, and welcome to Out of the Blue number 470. We're going to be reading today from Intra, Muros, My Dream of Heaven Within the Gates by Rebecca Ruter Springer. I'm going to start with the blurb on the back and the preface, and I hope to read the entire book. It starts out, the blurb says, "At last, the full unabridged edition of Intra Muros. Nowhere outside of the Holy Bible have God's people found greater comfort than through this beautiful story of Rebecca Ruter Springer's vision of heaven. If you have lost a loved one, you need to read this book. It will comfort your heart and give you hope that you will meet your loved one again. He is even now preparing and waiting for your homecoming. And if you fear death, this true description of the crossing over experience will still your fears and anxieties, so that you will have the confidence, which is the heritage of God's children, that he will make your homegoing sweet and wonderful with his own presence. For he said, 'I will come again and receive you unto myself.' Many abridged, edited, and condensed editions of this book exist under the same and similar titles, but this is the original unabridged edition of Intra Muros. We are confident that it will be a great blessing to you." That's the blurb. Oh, and let me read the inscription is dated May 12th, 2002. Happy Mother's Day. May God gradually reveal the splendor and grandeur of heaven in such a way that it is embedded in your being forever. Love, Betty. Now the foreword. The foreword is, Intra Muros is Latin. Translated into English, it means within the walls. It is by a miracle of love that you hold this precious book in your hand. It all began many years ago, 1966 to be exact. I was ministering in the city of Los Angeles, California. The pastor's wife dropped me off at a bus stop where I was to take the bus to the place where I was staying. As I stood there waiting for the bus, I noticed there was a large used bookstore behind me. I couldn't resist the temptation. Looking at my watch, I figured I had a few minutes to browse, so I went inside. As my eyes wandered over the thousands of old and used books, I noticed squeezed in among the large ones a very small, dark-colored book that was so worn I couldn't read the title on the spine of the book. I wonder what that little worn book is, I thought. I reached up to slip it from its tightly packed-in position and looked at the title on the front. What a strange title. Intra Muros. What language was it, and what did it mean? Suddenly I remembered. Somewhere long before, someone, I didn't even remember who or where or when, had told me about a wonderful book that a woman had written about heaven after suffering many days. That name was very unusual. Could this be the book? My heart quickened. I opened it. My eyes fell on the heavenly story of Rebecca's vision of heaven. Tears came to my eyes. I knew I held in my hand one of Earth's dearest treasures. I knew it was another of his special love gifts to me. I paid the few cents that it cost and stepped out to carry my treasure home. Well, it really was a bus ride home. As soon as I reached my small apartment, I flopped down on the bed and opened my treasure. As I read, my heart pounded for joy. Tears flowed freely, intermingled with shouts of praise as I, too, slipped within the walls to catch a sight of that beautiful place the Lord has prepared for his children. Because many of our Chinese people and children have had wonderful visions of heaven. I guess the writer of this forward, Gwen R. Shaw, I think she's saying that she's Chinese. She says, because many of our Chinese people and children have had wonderful visions of heaven, I had no trouble accepting this precious story. It all lined up with other stories and testimonies I had heard, and I knew that God had the power to reveal what he wants to reveal. As we come close to the end, the veil between continues to grow thinner. Today, many have had visions of heaven, but still this wonderful book, Intra, Muros, is one of the greatest of all. If there are any parts of this story you do not understand, leave them with the Lord. We do not need to know all the answers. In closing, I would like to remind you this story of a dream vision, a beautiful dream which removes the fear of crossing over and fills our heart instead with anticipation and longing to behold. Let me start this paragraph over. In closing, I would like to remind you this story is of a dream vision, a beautiful dream which removes the fear of crossing over and fills the heart instead with anticipation and longing to behold those things which eye hath not seen. But we won't have long to wait, for has he not said, quote, I go to prepare a place for you, that where I am, ye may also be. End quote. Only a little while, and he will come and take each of us who know and love him by the hand and carry us within the walls. This is the same original, full, unabridged story that God so wonderfully placed into my hands. We have reproduced it exactly, including my underscoring. I'm happy to share it with you because I know how it will bless and comfort you. Gwen R. Shaw. And now I'm going to read the author's preface. So this is Rebecca Ruter Springer writing. She says, the pages of this little volume contain no fancy sketch written to while away an idle hour, but are true, though greatly condensed. Record of an experience during days when life hung in the balance between time and eternity, with the scales dipping decidedly toward the eternity side. I am painfully aware of the fact that I can never paint for others the scenes as they appeared to me during those wonderful days. If I can only dimly show the close linking of the two lives, the mortal and the divine, as they then appeared to me, I may be able to partly tear the veil from the death we so dread, and show it to be only an open door into a new and beautiful phase of the life we now live. If any of the scenes depicted should seem irreverent in view of our religious training here, I can only say I give it as it came to me. In those strange happy hours, the close blending of the two lives, so wrapped about with the Father's watchful care and tender love, the reunion of friends with the dear earth ties unchanged, the satisfied desires, the glad surprises and divine joys, all intensified and illuminated by the reverence and love and adoration that all hearts gave to the blessed Trinity, appeared to me the most perfect revelation of that blessed life of which we so fondly dream. With the hope that it may comfort and uplift some who read, even as it then did, and as its memory will ever do for me, I submit this imperfect sketch of a most perfect vision. Till next time, thanks. See ya.